Jamie Bryant.
Yes,
fun
sir.
story about your last name.
What you got?
I didn't know it for the longest time.
Yeah.
I feel like we knew each other for a long time, and just before you came on the podcast, I text you. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry about this, but what's your last name anyway? Because it's only ever just Jamie, and then you don't have much online. Like, you're kind of this enigma ghost creature, but everybody knows you from that Connellsville area. They're always talking about you, so I'm like, I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Is that by design that you try to stay in the shadows a little bit?
It is. When I had Instagram for a long time, whatever, when it very, very first came out. And then at some point when I was living in Mexico around 2015, I deleted my Facebook and then eventually deleted the Instagram and everything. I don't know. I find that I really like a lot of people that I meet. And as soon as I see their social media, I'm like, fuck, like I didn't know that person sucked. And so I find myself in this place where I don't know, I like people better if I don't see the parts of them that they want me to like first.
I've never heard that perspective, and I like it a lot now. It's like, oh, I want to like this guy, but I just found out.
You know
like,
what I'm saying,
suck.
dude? And you're like, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Well, it is a super fake way to take somebody into, to be honest. Like, if you only look at their social media, it's never reality.
No, of course
we put our
not.
best things out. Dude, I look way better on Instagram than in real life. Like,
Yeah, you better. That's why, I can't, man. And like, I don't know, pictures of myself freak me out a little bit. Like, we were talking about tattoos before we went live. I like forget that I like have them. Like some nice old lady will be kind of looking at me, and I'll look at my better half who I wanted to bring today, and I'm like, what's and she's like, dude, and I'm like,
it's that. Yeah.
And I just forget because I've never seen him.
That is hilarious that you would forget you have, because like you can probably see it on camera. Obviously, face, hands, neck, pretty much everywhere you can tattoo. Which one? What was your first?
My first was a grenade on my left leg.
Nice. How old were you?
I just turned 18, like a week or two after. I knew at a really young age that I was gonna be covered in tattoos. I grew up in like the punk rock hardcore scene or whatever, in Cincinnati. At a really young age, moved to Nashville. While in Cincinnati, there is if you were around the punk hardcore straight edge scene around that time, right? Like the very, I don't know, late 90s into the early 2000s. There was you could tell if a dude was from Ohio, and chances are it was because he had more tattoos than you, a couple of gold teeth and a shaved head, and he was hard as nails. And so that was what I grew up around as a kid in the punk rock scene, kind of seeing that. And a lot of these guys also, at a time way before like TV shows made tattoos cool, a lot of these guys were covered in tattoos and still had great jobs, worked as machinists and stuff. And to me, those were the guys that were driving cool cars and kind of doing their thing. And they managed to look like this in the process. And I kind of fell in love with traditional tattoos early, and that was that.
That's sick. I feel like even in my lifetime, tattoos have been destigmatized to a degree. Even when I was younger, it was kind of a thing. Like you said, the old lady looking at you like, oh, what's this guy? But now it's almost more uncommon to not have them.
It is. Actually, a couple of my students were talking last night. One of our 16-year-olds, shout out Muay Tigers. One of our 16-year-olds was in there, and he was talking to another young lady that had just come over, and they were the only two in the room that didn't have tattoos. There were like 20 people on the mats.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
I think in MMA or any combat sport too, you're kind of getting a heavier dose. It's like you're saying, like punk hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm like a death metal guy. You go to a concert, you expect tattoos.
Yeah, 100%. Anywhere that people are okay with like getting punched in the face, you'll tend to find a heavy concentration of bad decisions.
For sure.
And some of these are that. So.
Nice. Well, there's a lot to unpack with your background there, dude. And I definitely wanted to get into this, but did not expect to that soon. But let's start with Cincy to Nashville, because it sounds like the framework for the rest of your life was kind of set there. Like you said, you kind of had this hard edge to you.
Yeah.
You knew you wanted to fight. You liked that kind of tough lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. It sounds like you were into that super early.
I was. I got into it, and it's the typical story. I walked into an MMA gym, thought I was like Billy Badass, got beat up by a 16-year-old, and that was it. But I didn't fall in love with the martial arts aspect like everyone else did. I saw a gentleman only a couple years older than me, and I was 20. I saw a really nice car out front, a nice house. The house that he had put his mom in. in the success of the gym. And not an exaggeration, his name was on the door. So I saw that, and I was kind of obsessed with like the I don't know if alchemy is the right word, the ability to take these things that nobody would ever pay attention to and build something really cool out of it, and something that would give kids opportunities. Like if you walked into a basketball gym and saw like a stack of zebra mats or whatever, you would be like, why is this not a jiu-jitsu school? Whereas like 99% of people wouldn't see that, right? And I was like obsessed with that capability. And then so I started working at MMA gyms then, Nashville MMA. The owners there also owned a gi company called Gameness. I ran Gameness for the next few years, and that put me in contact on a professional level with lots of people in the jiu-jitsu game. And yeah, through that, worked at a couple different schools. Where all of that culminated was in 2009, I opened the Tennessee Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy with a good friend of mine. My role was an early entry kind of, I knew I could get them 100 students in 6 months, and I really liked these guys. So we did it. Great school, still there. And then I kind of saw two things, like girls pay their bills and guys don't. And at this time, nobody cared about being a fighter anymore. So I got really obsessed. This was 2 years after Title, 2 or 3 years after Title had launched their clubs or whatever. And those were just put there to sell product. That's all it is. So after they put Title out or whatever, I saw a couple things. One, it shouldn't be a bunch of little locations. It should be one big box, because people will drive if you're doing the right thing before you ask for their money. Two, it was like a primary color soup. And three, they wouldn't sell any other brands. And if you fix those problems, and I call them problems intentionally, if you fix those, you'll make kickboxing safer, more acceptable, or accessible to more people. And I don't know, just look fucking cooler, right? So that's what I did. I opened up in 2010. I jokingly say I started the Neon, but I don't know if it's a joke to it. In 2010, I opened a gym in Nashville. Still there. Sold my interest in 2015 or so. So I take no credit for anything before that, or after that rather. But I had this idea, and I saw the way to learn how to kickbox different. And I just called it fitness so that it would sell. But if you looked at this gym, like any of these people could take an amateur fight in kickboxing and do really well from that gym. So what my career became was either consulting to grow or contracting to open / save gyms that had kind of bought into the same mode of operation.
Sick.
Yeah.
So you were bar rescue, but gym rescue.
Yeah. And a lot of, man, I tend to like look a lot like I'm saying things meaner than I am. So I would always have to have a translator. Like I'll ask someone, and I would always bring my little sister with me. I'll ask someone a question and like, oh my God, that dude's a dick. And I'm like, I just asked why you like weren't wearing shoes or like something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, it was fun. After that, I ended up later in, I guess like September, October of 2013, I moved to Mexico. I lived there for just under 5 years. And I worked as a dive master and a rescue diver while I was there. There's a little island, just off the coast of Cancun. It's like 8 miles out. It's called Isla Mujeres. It's 2 square miles, and it's the most beautiful place on earth. And so I saw it and was like, oh man, fuck Nashville. And I left. Being in Mexico was awesome. It taught me a lot, and to bring it all back around, I met my better half in Nashville, and around COVID, at its height, she was like, "Hey, I'm from this tiny town in Southwest Pennsylvania. You want to go? Whatever." We looked it up, and I had really been craving going back to a small town. That's what it was in Mexico. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It was a couple thousand people on this little island, right. 12 last names for the most part.
Sure.
And Connellsville was a lot like that. And in the same respect, folks in Connellsville have almost the same dynamic. It's weird. You can't just move there. You gotta and this is an outsider's perspective. You gotta like be let in. You know what I mean? Like they don't accept half-ass down there. You know what I'm saying? So even like when Nicole and I opened this gym, we knew going into it that if you don't give 150%, Fayette County will rip you in half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They and that's why we call it Fayette County, to go all the way back to that.
Okay.
We were at the IKF East, and let me tell you something about Jason Molnix. You'd be hard pressed to find someone that understands the mechanics of power as produced by legs better than Jason Molnix.
Nice.
Straight up.
That is a ringing endorsement for sure.
It's the eggplant bruises on my legs will endorse it. So with Jason, he went down there. His performance was incredible, and everyone, was having a hard time saying Connellsville. Lots of people were asking us where we were from, and at some point, Fayette County turned into Fayette County, and we didn't argue.
That's even better.
So we
just rolled with it.
That's it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
see.
that's how I first met you. Obviously, that when Jason fought for us, and you were in his corner. So we met you there, and have kind of just kept in touch ever since then. No, you wanted to come on the podcast, but dude, you've unleashed so many layers that as you're talking, I'm like, gotta talk about this, gotta talk about this. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, well, let me real quick. Actually, and not to correct you, I actually wasn't in Jason's corner. I wanted to be. Jason and I met 3 weeks prior to that fight, just because he was coming in. He obviously, the dude sees Muay Thai on the wall in his town. He's like, what is this?
Gotta do this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So he came in, we met, held pads for him, and then the fight was like 3 weeks later. So I came up with him to the weigh-ins just because I was like, hey man, can I go up there and kick it with you? So
nice.
Just wanted to say that I didn't want to take credit from not Jeremy and Bob.
Yeah. I use that term kind of like you were with him. Yeah, you weren't literally in his corner during the fight, but you were with his posse at weigh-ins.
Yes, sir.
We'll put it that way.
way.
But yeah, dude. So I got to run it the whole way back to like 20-year-old you going into an MMA gym thinking you're Mr. Badass. What kind of combat sports training did you have at that point? Zero.
Oh,
okay.
Nothing, dude. Nothing. Just literally thought that I was tough because I did like really well outside of punk rock shows. That's it.
Like Waffle House undefeated records.
Oh, bro, that's me. Oh, yeah, dude. And like I was we were shameless back then, man. We didn't care. Swing on sight. If they were looking at you, lucky them. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it was I'm joking about it now, but I have leaps and bounds grown past the 20-year-old that we are discussing. So I laugh about this person almost in third person in a weird way. But I knew absolutely nothing other than I thought that I was tough, and I was wrong.
Yeah. That's the case, like you said. For so many people, they think they can do it. I mean, you can find endless videos on YouTube of gym challenges, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Yep.
So I did jiu-jitsu for a couple years. I wasn't mentally or emotionally capable to handle the journey that really biting down on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seemed to provide for those that I was really close to. So I had the gentleman that I've called coach since I've put a gi on or whatever. His name's Corey Robinson. He's a world champion. Seeing his jiu-jitsu journey, seeing gentlemen around him at that time, and being from a Lloyd Irvin school in the early 2000s, which some people know what that means. I was surrounded by real greatness on jiu-jitsu mats, and as much fun as I had, there would be 70 folks on the mat every night, and none of them were hobbyists.
Right.
And so with running the school and running Gameness, we had a lot to do. So I had a lot of fun with it. Striking is where I kind of found my forte, and what I liked about it instantly was holding pads. The first time I held Thai pads, that was it. I didn't care. I didn't care about fighting. Never have. Never will. Don't want to. Don't care. And I don't know. I love coaching. To have especially now with YouTube, right? And we can get into visual references in a second, but to have an individual that sees a visual reference, right, like a pro fighter, and says, without having that capability or capacity, says, I want to do that, and then steps in and says they want to do that, to watch that physical growth of these motions like expand all the way out, right? They're punching, they're flailing, right, is like the visual cue. They're all the way out with it, and then you start to tighten it back up, and then things get cleaner. and then you loosen it up again and make it more playful, and they start to understand different dynamics of this thing, and then you tighten it back up again, and you put more constraints around the way they're learning it.
Yeah.
And that's always, some folks have that about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love Jiu-Jitsu. It's so much fun, but striking, I don't know.
There's something about it.
Yeah.
It sounds like I listen to John Danaher talk a lot, and obviously his obsession is one of the wildest that you ever hear of anybody with anything in any walk of life.
I'm envious of it.
Yeah, his obsession with jiu-jitsu is just unbelievable. The way people, but it sounds like you have that to a degree with striking. Like you just love it different. There's something about it where like you don't get tired of it.
Never. There is and I think one of the biggest things I like is that they're right and wrong are fluid concepts, and that doesn't exist in a lot of spaces. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One of I'll just say the term, and people can go with it there if they want to. Ecological dynamics, perception action coupling, self-determination theory, self-organization theory. These are all things that I put into training, and it makes our classes, our curriculum, air quotes on purpose, look vastly different than most. Some don't see that as the right way to do it, but again, right and wrong are fluid concepts based only on efficacy as it comes to striking. So who's right and who's wrong if someone's winning?
That's a great point. Did you have that idea for a curriculum, air quotes, like that all along, or is that something you developed over time?
I would say developed over time, but not in a linear progression. Sure. So I what really did it was as I got back into this, I've never coached a full team. I've been part of a coaching team, or I've been the striking coach. I've never coached a full team and really managed all of those emotions and expectations and excitements and disappointments and everything, right? When I started noticing that something was working was when I looked at the opponents of the three people. We had three different fighters go down to this IKF that Jason got his championship at. When I looked at them and who their opponents were, they were no joke. We fought a kid, and I apologize if I don't say his name correctly. It was Michael Groth. He was out of SBG in Atlanta. SBG is a banger of a gym circuit, right? They know what they're doing. Right. This kid's been training. He fought a couple point competitions, and he won split decision. If you don't want it to go to the judges, don't give him a say in it, right? But and Samuel gave him a say. They went with the other gentleman, and it is what it is. After the fight, respectfully, I'll say Sam was in great shape, and the gentleman he fought opted to not continue in the tournament,
right?
Due to injury, whatever that is. When you look at Jason's, one opponent was 2-0. The other gentleman, I genuinely don't know. Really tough guys, and Jason did it. He did it. And then you had Morgan, young lady, went down there and fought with us too. Morgan, the girl she fought, has a very close relationship with her crew, whoever they are in each other's lives. He's an awesome coach. She has been training for a number of years. From my understanding, and if I'm wrong, I'm confident I'll get corrected in whatever comments are. But she's been training for a number of years, been to Thailand from my understanding, and was a tough chick. Morgan put up a really good fight, and it went to a split decision. Morgan started training like 90 days before that. And Samuel had trained with me for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks longer than that.
Wow.
Jason, same thing. So when I look at the years of experience from coaches that have been successful in their fighting careers, and then I look at the performance of the folks that we've had, and then someone says, "Oh, well, he's never fought before." I don't know. Excuse me for not caring. You know what I mean? What my job as a coach isn't to stand here and be this level of mastery that you maybe can attain in 10 years. My job is to use my words and my actions from things that I see to expand your ability to strike a person across from you if they don't want you to, if they have an equal amount of training. And the way that we do that is by showing you the picture more. So when Morgan went in there, she was used to seeing that picture. And where this really came from was looking at all three of their fights and saying, they did really good, and I expected them to. But after 90 to 100 days of training, why did I have that expectation? Right. And I think there's a lot there that I'm still learning, and I think I'll be wrong about a lot of it. I'll be right about a lot of it, and what will shake out. I'm confident it's going to look a lot different than a lot of other gyms, but I'm really, really, I'm equally confident in the results we're going to have.
Well, I'm super impressed, man, with what you've done, like you said, in such a short period of time. And I mean, not even just with Devotion, obviously being a new kickboxing club in Fayette County. I'm going to start calling it that. I like that.
That's it.
But even with your own progression, you said you walked into an MMA gym when you were 20. You can't be older than 40 now. Like, how old are you?
Pushing. I'm 38.
Really?
Yeah, 38.
Yeah,
dude.
okay.
You'll hear me say I'm 40 a lot, and
I would have thought like 35, 6 if I had to make an actual guess.
I'll take it.
You don't seem much older than me for sure. But in that short of a period of time, to have it distilled down the way you do into a air quotes curriculum, I like that too. That's working for people, that clearly you know what you're doing. Like, how did you jam what seems like 30, 40 years worth of learning into essentially like 10 years?
I love being wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's good.
I love being
That's
wrong.
important.
And even like to draw it back to the ecological dynamic stuff that I was talking about. If this way of doing things that I'm trying to guide us towards ends up being wrong, the only way, by definition, that would be wrong is if something else, to use your words, distills itself as right. And within that distillation, I will, it comes down to ones and zeros. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you'll see that right way come up. It's not even like I disagree with like the way that people do it. I think I just see it different. And this is like the way that I see all of it, right? If I took you and I, right, and we put never had seen a basketball hoop before, never had seen anything, right? But we put a bag of money over there, and we put a hoop right there, a hoop right here, and a ball in the middle, and then 30 seconds later, a bell rang. Mm-hmm. We would, as human beings existing in an ecosystem, our perception would give us the rules of the game, and it would tell our body how to act. We would know to drop low and get the ball. We would know not to slam it in the hoop behind us. But how do we know that, right? And I think that if you allow those behaviors to work together and grow, with these visual references, I can tell when someone does something because they saw it on YouTube and when I taught them that. But at the same time, I can also see this like, oh shit, coach didn't teach me that on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I don't have to teach it to you. If it's working, run it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of dynamics might be set up to, take these things that a coach has fought his whole career and done really well, right? He has learned all of these things, and he has learned them by definition through essentially ecological dynamics and self-organization theory. He knows when he walks into an MMA fight that he might strike, he might grapple, but he's not going to know that answer until he perceives something from his opponent, either an afforded opening or, I don't know, something coming at him.
Yeah, you're touching on something extremely interesting there, I think. And how much do you notice with your guys? You always hear this, like, you'll hear fighters say it. It's so cliched, but I think there is something to it. That some guys are just born fighters, some are not.
Fact.
Can you tell right off the bat working with somebody, like, this guy might have something here? Like, he might get it.
Yes, 100%. But after you kind of make that determination, there is a question of what kind of fighter they are. There are people that fight with their minds, and working their minds and being wrong kind of soothes their intellect, which is what they are there to soothe. And then there are folks who are more physically based, and they will kind of do their own thing as they've seen it work before. And but it doesn't mean if you don't work. And I'm loosely paraphrasing, but if you point them in a direction, they'll run right through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that I heard this on another podcast the other day, and I've been listening to so many of them that I'm sorry I don't know who to attribute this thought process to. But when you, I can't quote him that close. Go ahead.
You're gonna worry about messing it up.
I am.
That's fine. That's fine. You didn't say the podcast, so nobody's gonna even know who you messed up.
True. I think that there's a lot of times where and I'll just say it like this. I think there's a lot of times where someone would say, oh, you can't just teach someone skills. Like if I were to say, what is the basics or fundamentals or foundation or skills or whatever you want to call that, I believe they're all different. But to generalize that, if you were to ask 9 out of 10 people what they think the basics are required to practice this sport, this retail sport, I think my answer would be a lot different, and that's what I attribute it to. I don't think the basics are jab, cross, hook, left knee, low right leg kick. I think that those are the strikes that result as an entry level beginning of what the basics are.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think the basics is in the strikes. The basics is in how you move. The basics is in how you see your opponent, and to go back, the basics is in if you're tough or not. You know what I'm saying? There are fighters. Mikey Musumeci, the kid was never going to be a bully at school, but that kid's not the best practitioner has ever put a gi on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Unbelievable.
So to say he's not tough would be dumb because
ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
But both of these entities, whether intellectual or physical, they put themselves in the same arena with the same objective and the same goal. Our objective is we're going to come in here. One of us gets our hand raised 6 minutes from now. Who's it going to be? So whatever path you're taking to get there, you're forced into a situation where you now have to perform within these parameters and accomplish an objective faster than your opponent. Whether you do that intellectually or mentally, I think makes no difference as long as you're being coached for your body style. It will do me no good to teach a lanky dude like myself that Tyson style boxing because I'm not built like Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when you've got a class and you call it a beginner class or an all levels class or a fundamentals class, that's just a kind of a complacent way to teach 20 people that are shaped entirely different how to do the same thing that might work for one of them once against one person on one night.
Yeah,
and I think that's a weird way to do it.
It's super interesting, man. I've played guitar since I was like 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
I love guitar. And the thing in guitar, the analogy I'll make with this, that I think it carries over to pretty much every walk of life, but like you always hear, you like Pantera, like Dimebag Darrell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You always hear like how does Dimebag get his tone? How did he get that tone? And people know the exact gear he had. You could plug me in though to that, and I'm not gonna sound like Dimebag still.
It's his bones.
So they always say like tone is in the hands in guitar. I think there's something with that with athletes as well. Like you're saying, like you can teach two guys a left hook the same way, but one guy's going to throw it a little differently than the other guy. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Nope. And I guess my biggest question that I find that I'll probably have the most challenge is, why would you?
Right. But so many people do. That's the interesting part of it to me.
Well,
is like,
it's weird, isn't it?
There's a lot of people out there, to bring it back to guitar, just because I know more about that. Like, they think I'm going to go out and buy all the stuff Dimebag used and sound just like Dimebag, but you won't.
Right. And you know, it's kind of a shame there, too, because Dimebag's sound, that tone, right, that you can literally hear when you talk about it, if you know what we're talking about, that tone arrived into existence organically. It arrived
because he embraced his originality. He's like, this is my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't trying to sound like Eddie Van Halen. Nope. He was like, I'm going to be Dimebag.
I'm gonna understand these fundamentals, right, as best I can, and then I'm gonna perform them to the best of my ability.
Sure.
And it would have been a tragedy if some guitar teacher had sat down and said, no, do it like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you find that as an instructor for fighting that you have to let guys like, dude, you got a mean right hand, use it. I don't know 100%. Why, use it.
100%. And we'll play a lot of games that really focus on what folks are good at, right? And then they look up at the end of class, and this is the same person that might not have wanted to spar, but you look up after 90 minutes, they maybe caught a couple, threw a couple, their mouthpiece is in, and they're covered in sweat. Like, what do you think that is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be pretty to work. It doesn't have to be angry to be effective. All you got to do is accomplish the objective. You touch the targets. That's it. And
nice.
and if you can get them to understand like their body, you know what I mean. And that it is a challenge, right? Like, look, I'm not saying that 20 people come to a Thai boxing class and I'm gonna walk around and give 20 different things to do, right? But a lot of the things that we do, I'll reference one of the young ladies that we have. She's been Thai boxing with us since basically we've been doing it there. strong Taekwondo background. So in the beginning, kind of before I started seeing things this way, I felt myself being what I now consider was way too over prescriptive with her, right? I'm like, no, you have to step that left foot out. Like that hip has to come over. What's guiding me to say the word has to, right, is based on performance that I've seen with other folks that have similar abilities or whatever. But Tori has 7 to 10 years of seeing that picture differently, right? So we can either spend 3 years eliminating that so that she can throw her kick like I throw mine, or we can spend a year and turn her into a monster. So that's kind of the plan. Spend a year and turn her into a monster instead.
It's cool that you keep such an open mind with stuff like that. Do you think that's because when you first entered the gym, you didn't have a formal background, so you've kind of been molded as you were an adult? You didn't have bad habits, so to speak.
Yeah, I firmly think so. And if I did have bad habits, it was just being not tough at all. But you know, back in the day, man, like if you wanted to learn something, the only way information was disseminated was through getting in a car, driving a couple hours, and just seeing some dude that like happened to be in town, or to like pay a bunch of money, go to a seminar.
Yep. And
it was because the information wasn't out there. It's not because necessarily they were better at it than the next guy, right? There's an uncountable amount of jiu-jitsu practitioners you could do seminars with at your school, and get great jiu-jitsu out of that, right? May not have the Instagram name, whatever. With striking, like I think I have to have an open mind. I don't think it's up to me anymore. You know what I mean? Like these folks have a visual reference of what they're about to ask of their body, and I the time of needing to provide them that visual reference is past. You know what I'm saying? It like YouTube changed jiu-jitsu and TikTok changed striking. You know what I'm saying? Like literally it changed it. Like, and honestly, it is what it is. I attribute it to turning the camera sideways. Anyway, so because now we can do fun striking videos, right? Vertical, run it. But yeah, they've got all these visual references. You know what I mean? There's Jason's fight, for instance. Had I been, and I don't even think I was open-minded enough, but had I been more closed, there's two combinations in particular that I know that we ran the sequence on a lot that were extremely effective, and one of which brought the W home. You know what I'm saying? I would have, as a coach, closed that door based on the style of kicking that he was using or whatever being kind of foreign to me. And it's not that I disliked it. It's that I knew that there was nothing that I could provide to enhance it. Right. And my job is to enhance his ability, not maintain it. Right. He can maintain it in his garage. My job is to be a funnel of knowledge into this dude and all of them, right? Anyone that we work with, and allow them to use that knowledge. And it's weird, like only in martial arts do we still have that like, oh no, but they said it's right kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go into in a lot of ways, I'll say a little particularly more in no-gi competition, that's kind of gone away, but in a lot of ways, it's like it still wasn't a sport yet, and tradition wasn't letting it be a sport yet, right? But if you look at a lot of these young kids, like they don't care to know the history. Like I think lineage is important. I think it's cool. I can totally understand why someone 20 years my junior wouldn't care, because he's learning a sport, right? You know what I'm saying? Like tons of kids play baseball and don't give a shit who started it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Who taught you how to swing like that? Who fucking cares?
Basketball is a really extreme example of that. I feel like kids nowadays playing basketball, I watch some games and it's like they're all playing for Instagram views and TikTok. Like they're celebrating every made layup. I'm like, what happened to basketball?
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. And like the whole dynamic changes, even you know, specifically in combat sports, I feel. But yeah, that dynamic change of getting that content is wild and
unbelievable.
And it's so new to me. And I don't personally have those aspirations in my life, so it's never a goal I set. I actually, and if you are someone at Devotion that this has happened to, I tell people no, they can't record all the time, and I feel like a jerk about it, but it's not what we're there for, right? You know those fights are won long before you go into the lights, and it doesn't count with letting people know what you're cooking.
Yeah, I think you said something really important earlier when you said I love being proven wrong, and you've said various things throughout this podcast that show how kind of elastic your mind is in general.
Thanks.
When did you know that you had that though? That's a really important quality that so many people don't have. And for me personally, like I don't know, I feel like I have that. And maybe that's just me projecting, being, you know, a little arrogant, like, oh, that's the way to be. But I do think it's super important. I found myself in so many situations in my life where being flexible and being able to say, yeah, I was definitely wrong about that is super helpful for somebody.
Yeah.
So when people don't do that, I'm like, dude, you're missing the point. Like,
yeah. No, 100%.
When did you realize you were like that though?
I haven't always been.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't always been. No, it's not. I don't want to say I haven't always been. I've always been very objective. Very.
Okay.
And being objective can put you at odds with groups that might have a certain emotional connection to something if you don't agree, and my disagreement is based on objectivity.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know, I was wrong so much I could either be okay with it or hate it, and that was it. So there's I like failure a lot. I've started sold whatever. I've had about 6 different brick and mortar companies, and some of them product based, some of them local sales based, some of them fitness based, some of them martial arts based. And I think that an ability to understand that you're not the best at everything is really, really important. Like I think our website sucks. I think it's the best one that I can make. And I if anyone wants to make us one, you're welcome to. I know I'm not the best at it, but that's the best I can do. And I think that a lot of times mastery in one can be perceived as mastery in all. I think I'm a great kickboxing coach. I would never try to be someone's MMA coach because I don't know the jiu-jitsu base to couple these actions with, but I can see where the couplings occur, which is why I like that. So nice. I think when I realized when I became and really started adopting that in my life, I don't know, a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
This is a recent development. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
You don't see that often. You don't see an adult that's set in their ways, so to speak, change. Yeah. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? But
right.
You learned a new trick.
Yeah, I guess I did. I don't know. I think I make I see, this is like totally down a rabbit hole. I see kind of everything as a population war, and even as it relates to the emotions that we regulate within ourselves, right? I think that everything is a population war, everything. And I think that at some point I allowed doubt to win the population war over objectively based confidence in a certain arena. I questioned, I wondered for a long time if I had fallen into the same trap of mastery of one, mastery at all, right? And it took a lot of introspection. I don't drink, right? So a lot of introspection and a lot of putting myself in mentally uncomfortable positions to be able to see that if other decisions at certain times would have produced a result that now I saw as better, then you don't have to regret something to understand the impact of having made a different decision at that time. Yeah. And that's when I started being extremely introspective about pretty much every decision that I make, like everything, even down to coming on the podcast. You know what I mean? There will, folks that never knew Devotion's name will now. And that in itself is even a microscopic population war that I don't really know if I want to fight. You know what I'm saying? But what I do want to do is give put hands on some of these 24/7 fighters. When I first came to the fight, and I don't mean this, and there is, look, these athletes get in there and they bust their butts. These coaches bust their butts. I was really outsider looking in when I came to the first fight. Really stoked on the level of like fun that it looked like they were having in the cage. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There's a few different kind of like visual memories that stick. Like one of these kids did like just sick grand beat out of a back take attempt that I thought was super gnarly. There was I forget, Josh Roller. Is that an okay?
Yep. He was the main event.
Watching that dude, it was a great fight. That was my first experience seeing Kama fight live. That was awesome to watch. That fight, man, was if you're listening to me right now, my voice, and you haven't seen that fight, go watch it. It's rad. These dudes went off. Little things like that, but for the most part, Pennsylvania amateur rules are really weird. And I think there might be a more effective way to get a W if competing for the rule set is maximized. And without giving away our sauce, our future sauce.
This is very interesting.
That's where I'll leave it.
Nice. Yeah. What a cliffhanger on that, dude.
Yeah.
So that's a battle we fight all the time, as you can imagine. When we're getting guys from out of state or trying to get guys from out of state, we hear it a lot. We won't fight in PA amateur.
Mm-hmm.
At least advanced amateur allows ground and pound to the head, takes off the shin guards. It makes it a little better.
So when I was working with JT the other day, he said something about advanced amateur. What are the differences, and actually what are the Pennsylvania rules specifically? Like I know what I saw, right?
Right.
But I know like obviously like the no face ground kind of thing.
Yeah.
What specifically changes when it goes over to advanced, and what can what can trigger that change?
So advanced, you need 3 fights and a winning record.
Okay.
So you need to be 3-0 or 2-1, or whatever combination there. The
right.
2-2 works as well, usually something like that. You lose the shin guards. It's a 3-minute round instead
no
of
softies or anything. Bones.
Just bones, boy. Just bones. And 2-minute rounds become 3-minute rounds, and you can ground and pound to the head. You still can't head kick. You still can't knee to the head.
Okay.
Everything else pretty much the same.
Oh.
Yeah. So you lose.
This might sound like a random question. When if someone signs up for say a kickboxing fight, right? Specifically with like an IKF or whatever, there's you put every sport you've competed in.
Mm-hmm.
Does so for instance, Jason, obviously brought up, put his MMA fight down and 0-1 or whatever, and that does count as having a fight. So the way their divisions are broken up, you're triggered into the division above you, not by how long you've been training,
mm-hmm.
but by straight up how many fights you've had total. Does Pennsylvania, if they were to see, total example's sake, a 2-0 kickboxing record, a 0-1 MMA record, would that qualify approval for an advanced amateur?
I doubt it, but it does make a case. It does make a case. I think if those 2 fights were officially sanctioned by a sanctioning body that then shows up in, it's called the MMA registry. It's a database of all fights.
Okay.
It's like the fight Bible.
Got you.
And our commissioner bases his decisions solely off whatever shows up in that database. So for example, we've had fighters where if you Google them on Tapology, they're like 5-1,
and they're legit records,
right? And they did have those fights; they are 5-1. But in the database, 3 of those fights weren't sanctioned, so you look 2-1 to the commissioner, or something like that. Just making up numbers, obviously. He only uses the database. So if it's not in there, it doesn't matter what Tapology says or whatever. He doesn't trust it. It's not going to fly.
I was going to say, and there's probably a rock hard line that has to get drawn on that.
Exactly. And I see it both ways. I think it's crazy when you can find the fight on YouTube and send it to him and be like, it happened, dude. This is it. We're watching
I wonder if that decision is based on not trusting if the fight happened or not, but based on the quality and context of the fight as the opponent provided.
100%. That's it. That's the case.
Because we could. Yeah, makes sense.
It honestly does. It's frustrating, of course, when you're matching and it makes things harder, but it does make sense for sure.
Is that is that why let's talk UFC in Pittsburgh. What's up there?
They came twice now? 3 times now? Twice or 3 times? 3 times? Haven't been since, when was that last one? 2016 or so?
Why?
I think the UFC doesn't like our commission. Honestly, that's like the
bet.
best guess.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's like the best guess. Yeah,
we could paint that, but
I mean, clearly sports do well in Pittsburgh, right? Clearly there's a market for combat sports in Pittsburgh.
Well, there's a ground fighting base. Yeah. These kids come out of the womb with a singlet on.
If Bo Nickel fought in Pittsburgh, that makes perfect sense. People would come out and see him. I don't know, man. I can't answer why they haven't been back. Our guess is they don't like Pennsylvania, working with Pennsylvania. Because they haven't been back to Philly or anything either, I don't think.
But you guys, what the end goal of 24/7, I would assume, is probably to, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but probably has something to do with building a stable of young men and women that can transfer into that upper level, and you can have confidence and build an awesome arena that they can earn that spot in. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's not explicitly our goal by any means. I wouldn't say that. Like, we're not like, we want to become a UFC feeder system. That's
right.
not our end goal by any means.
Domination.
Why not?
When it happens, it's cool. Like when our pro champion gets signed to the UFC or Bellator, which has happened for everybody except Ethan Goss. Where are you guys at for Ethan? Help Ethan out. He needs he needs to go. We're tired of him fighting for us now. But yeah, man, it's not really the end goal. I would say more so our focus is here building that base. It's exactly what you said. The grappling base in Pennsylvania, huge, especially Western PA, massive. It's so untapped. Like the world, I mean, being that you haven't been here quite as long as most, there have been MMA organizations before us, and none of them have had more than 21 events.
Right.
They've never lasted. Never. We're coming up on our 19th.
Yeah.
This will be our 19th one.
Good for you.
And we see these missed opportunities that people have had throughout the years. So we're trying not to miss those opportunities, to put it that way.
If I can pry a little, and I know this is like, I'm not trying to turn the mic around. what are some of those? Like the differences that, if you were to say three main differences between 24/7 and say, I don't know, a similar regional organization, what would be the first three that come to mind?
This would get a chair, because this is a fun answer for you.
Let's
first
do it,
of all,
dude.
I have my answer, but we got to hear Ryan's
because
too.
what I'm kind of reaching for without saying it is I have a really strong feeling that the best way to describe the way that I see training striking is going to be really similar to the way that you see how to build an amateur championship organization.
I like that. Yeah, that's fun. Hang on, we're gonna take a 2-second pause. He said he sees a lot of similarities in how he's trying to build a fight team, a kickboxing club, as us building a successful pro-am organization in Western PA. That he's, I assume, seen a lot of missed opportunities by other gyms and trainers and things like that. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to adjust that camera. You got that? Cool. Thanks, dude. Nice. Get all cozy up. Cozy up, boy. But yeah, dude, that's an awesome question. First of all, Ryan's gonna.
I would just
fun with that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what those answers are.
Gotta get this whole thing up.
You get all this out of your way.
Has he been calling you sir?
He hasn't bowed yet. He did say sir a few times, but there's
been no bow.
been a lack of bowing.
I can't believe you let him stay in the room this long. He's let the fame get to his head. It didn't take long.
Dude,
I've only
been in the room a little bit. I got a green shirt.
Nice. All settled in, Daniel. Young Danny Palm.
Daniel.
All right, he good. All right, so thanks for sticking around. If that was a hard edit, sorry guys. But Jamie asked the three major differences between how we're doing things versus these promotions that didn't last. And Ryan was kind of just hanging out in the corner listening, and I was like, I could answer this, but really Ryan's the guy to answer this.
And actually, if I can kind of, you're going to hear me say the word parameter a ton. If I can expand the parameters of the question a little bit, I'm curious not as much as like what you guys are doing per se. So if it's something that you like see, like you're like, yes, like what we want to do with this organization is this, but you're not doing that yet. Like I would see that as on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to hear what your your answer is, and then I'll tell what it actually is.
I think Ryan's the first one, because I don't know them all super well. I know one of them pretty well that had another promotion, but I don't know his business world or exactly what he was going in on. I think Ryan's by far the smartest businessman in terms of being a businessman that's run an MMA organization in Pittsburgh. Knowing what I know about our financials and how we do things on that side, there's no way these other guys were doing this in terms of being this buttoned up with every dollar they spend, why they're spending it, and where they can spend more. That's the other thing with Ryan that I think people don't give him enough credit for, because it's always the slimy promoter making money off fighters. Right. That's just the stereotype. Like, Ryan doesn't make money off this at all, and when he does, our podcast studio wasn't cheap, dude. Like this is where the money goes.
I know.
He reinvested.
I know what that is. I know what that is. We got a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's not cheap at all.
He reinvested into the company, and that's why you've been to our shows. Like, the production's a little better than people are used to. The things we do for the fighters is a little better than people are used to, and we hear it all the time. That's not an accident. So these are like those small things super add up. And that's what I think the other promotions for sure were not dialed in on that level. And a lot of times I think they were too fighter friendly also. They were spending a lot of money because they wanted to be cool with these guys and they wanted to be friends. And there's something to that. I certainly get that.
And we want all those things too. It's just not enough to go.
You can't
out of
sink
business.
yourself in the process.
Oh, 100%.
Put it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
So what I think, and I think it's those things, but if I were to say one thing that I think is, I think the previous one organization was only focused on the future, and the other organization was only focused on each event. So I think we have a good balance of those two. One organization was spending money now because they were like, we're doing things the right way and we're heading in the right direction. And then when they didn't get that UFC Fight Pass deal that they were working toward, and then the UFC sold, and then everything started over, and it was like, then they were like deflated because they hadn't been making money along the way, and they had their eye on something out there that just changed on them. Right? So that's the one organization. The other organization didn't really look ahead at all. They wanted to make money, as much money on, or just make money. Like, it's hard to make money in this business.
Yeah.
So for a long time, they were having shows and not making money and not being profitable. And like, it's a lot of work. And that's one of the things that the one promoter said to me is like, I don't know if I'm having another show. It's a lot of work. Like, there's no money in it. Like, and so I think, they were just looking at one show at a time and trying to figure out, like, how do we make money this time? And I think that's the ultimate was, I didn't start this like because I was trying to make money, right? Like, that was never a part of the like goal. The goal was to have a successful organization that was long term, like, was going to make it long term and was going to be able to be profitable. And when it started becoming profitable, that meant I could hire someone. And it started becoming, we started to make a little bit of leeway, and then because I've never been paying myself. So, like, that's why I have to own another business, because that's the one that I actually make money.
Yep.
And like, I'm jealous of this guy here, because this is what I want to be doing all the time.
Right.
But I don't get to do that. Right. So so I think having that balance of and listen, these guys will be the first to say, like, I'm gonna challenge them if they want to spend money. Like, if it's worth spending, then I will spend it. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm also gonna challenge them in every way possible. Think about all the different things, and like, there was a guy on our last card that if they wouldn't have convinced me to have him on the card, that card wouldn't have been nearly as successful as it was.
Yeah. Who was it?
It was a fighter.
I had to.
It was Victor Lipari.
We've talked about it.
Okay.
It was Victor Lipari. He's a fighter in Vegas. He's from here. Something you learn in this industry, that like, everyone that wants to fight for you that's a pro, they all tell you, I will sell don't worry, I'll sell tickets.
Yep.
Like, how many are you gonna sell? Oh, dude,
30, bro.
dude,
30.
I will sell tickets. And I hear that all the time, so I'm like, no.
Oh, I know what you're referencing. And this dude sold tickets.
This
dude.
dude
Yeah. Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
yeah.
he sold more money in tickets than anyone ever for one show in our history.
Yeah. I could be wrong. I want to say JT had said something about dude just selling a ton of tickets.
It was a dumb amount, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you were
good
there,
for him.
and like everybody there had his shirt on, so it was super obvious just looking at the crowd, like
You knew what time it
200
was.
people wearing that shirt. Yeah. Then he got knocked out, unfortunately. That was the sad
After
ending.
dominating the first
Yeah.
round, he did. He got
Great fight, honestly.
He showed like a heck of a lot of skill. Like he's very talented and very, very good. And we're hoping that October comes around and he's
run it back.
looking to come back. So
But yeah, that is an example though, where initially he was like 0% chance we're bringing this guy in from Vegas. Plus he's a pro, so he costs more right off the bat. And it's just like, no, this makes no sense. And we were like, listen, we've talked to him repeatedly. He also has a sales gig. Like he knows how to sell things. He's super motivated. This guy swears he's going to sell at least 100. 100 tickets was the number he gave us. He swears he will. And I don't remember if we did build into his contract anything. So we didn't. But that is an option as well. There is like, you can obviously build that into a contract. Like if you don't sell at least 5,000, then the difference you owe us that
$5,000.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously. But yeah, we didn't do that, but we could have done something like that. But we
are doing that going forward.
Yeah.
Like that's a regular part of our contracts.
Well, if you're spending money, you have to.
That's the thing.
They got to commoditize themselves. And one of the first conversations JT and I had was, there's no wrong answer here, but are we having fun? Do we want to be the guy that fought, or do you want to stack up as strong of an amateur career as you can, make a debut and give this a run for it? You're 28 years old. What's up?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And he really does want to make a career out of it. Now, JT, I mean, you guys have met the guy. He's awesome, right? And
I love that dude.
And the kid, he's got power in his hands. He shows up, and that's honestly the most important thing. He shows up mentally too. I will say, I have not watched JT's fight.
Interesting.
Didn't watch it.
Why is that? By choice? Have you just not got around to it, or are you avoiding it on purpose?
No, I didn't think of that. Maybe now, yeah. No, not at all. I think, and Jason's a great friend of mine. He's at the gym all the time, right? So, he kind of said that, I guess JT's gas tank was just gone after that second round, right?
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, he dominated early for sure. Strong wrestling. He was dominating everywhere.
What do you think it was? And I don't know if I can ask your opinion on that, I guess.
I mean, I talked to him after the fight to make sure he's okay and everything. He said his blood sugar dropped like crazy.
Yeah,
to me, it looked like an adrenaline dump, which we see with especially debut amateurs a lot. And dude, we're not the UFC, but that was a big crowd. That
100%.
That would get you hype if you're walking out with that crowd.
He was picking him up over and over again and slamming him. Like
firmly believe he could do the same to me all day.
Trying to pick someone up and
who doesn't want to be picked
up and slamming them repeatedly takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. Oh, the most. It's using your three main muscle groups to their max repeatedly.
Exactly.
So that combination, and it being your debut and like that adrenaline, like it's
yeah, man. And that's what I was telling him. I was like, look, dude, like straight up, like I don't care who tells you what. First 10 fights, they don't matter. They don't matter. Get in there, learn from it, figure out what you got to do, perform at the level that you expect yourself to perform at next time, and that's it. Go to work. And that's where JT and I have started.
That's awesome.
A couple weeks ago, and I've been having a lot of fun with him since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to go out and get concussed in all of your first 10 fights. That's a problem. At the same,
you got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to ride a bike. You want to race.
The thing with me is if you want to make a pro, if you're trying to have the best amateur record like you can possibly have, more power to you. Like take fights you think you can win, and
it's more fun to win,
fights.
Right?
But if you want to be the best pro possible, you need to fight. You need to see different looks. You need to be challenged. You need to figure out, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I was at this. I'm not as good as I thought I was at that. You need to take fights where someone's like, if you're good at taking people down, find someone that's a great has great takedown defense and make you stand
100%.
and like challenge yourself, because you don't want to see things for the first time when you're a pro. And I see guys see them all the time. They're like a deer in headlights.
Yep. And that was where, so when I had said UFC Pittsburgh, what's up there, what I was kind of getting at is like, is there, because the amateur, I mean, what you described for advanced amateur doesn't sound much different than pro, right?
No head kicks, no knees to the head, shorter rounds. Yeah,
it's not crazy,
because a lot of states will still makes like softies and stuff for they go raw shins in amateur.
Yeah, man. Yeah, advanced amateurs, no shin guards.
I could see that being like very productive in the purpose of an amateur career. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because you get that broomstick all day, right?
Yeah.
But the other one I see as counterproductive almost. If you get, because in an MMA fight there is a, I can't give it away. I can't. Well, you'll see.
The no strikes to the head, is that what you're saying is counterproductive?
Towards an amateur career to prepare you to compete at the highest level in the professional arena. Absolutely.
I think
it's dangerous.
It teaches really bad habits to the guy on their back, and I think it's bad.
Yeah, it's super bad. Well, and what it's bad is like, okay, they can't strike me. I'm wearing shin guards, so they're not going to submit me, right? And I'm just going to get squirrely and wearing a whatever. It's hard to see what you can do within that rule set almost.
Yeah.
Like hats off to these guys that are doing it and doing really well and putting on like super exciting shows, because it's when you delete some of those weapons from the arsenal, it can get tough.
Well, see, I think the perspective, I mean, I have to be, the bottle's half full, right?
Right.
Instead of half empty. Like for me, I think if you're learning to work different submissions, you're learning to look for different things, you're learning to go to the body and not just head, the old adage, like body, head, like, but now you can just go to the body. So you're looking for like just positioning yourself. I think for submissions, you're looking for different things as opposed to just punching, ground and pound. So I think I think it can, if you allow it to, make you more diverse. I think too many guys get in, top position or mountain. That's all they look for is head punches. Yeah, so it might do a little bit there, but I for the top guy, I think it can improve them. For the bottom guy, I think it makes you worse.
I like when we see this. We don't see it all the time, but we get wrestlers sometimes that enjoy that rule set. And I'll speak for one in particular that's talked about it. Lucas Siebert, the one that did the Granby you were talking about earlier.
Oh,
Is that kid?
Yeah.
He is from Ohio originally and could have fought in Ohio, which allows ground and pound to the head. But he intentionally wanted to fight in PA because he's like, I know, like, I have a D1 wrestling base. I can take a lot of these early amateurs down and finish them with ground and pound, just get the ref to call the fight. I don't want to just do that. That's what I can already do. I want you to take that away from me and make me win a different way. Make me work on my striking. Make me do something that I'm not already pretty good at.
But if he's a wrestler and he puts him on the ground and holds him there, how's he not already wrestling and still wrestling?
I mean, he could do that, but he enjoyed
you
using the
win on the
rules.
feet.
That's what he did, too. His first fight was
damn
almost
roll.
all striking. Yeah, it was cool.
great.
It was cool.
It was great. Yeah, the roll kept it out of the going to the ground. There's a lot of really strong jiu-jitsu here, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Like really strong.
Dude, insane.
It's a trip. Pittsburgh's lucky to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got
so underrated here. Like, you don't think of Pittsburgh as like super strong jiu-jitsu, but it is.
Why is it? Why do you think? I mean, and again, that's an outsider.
The wrestling, the grappling, like the transition. If you have the schools that'll teach it, like if you're done wrestling at 18 years old and then you want to keep competing, like you go
Jiu-jitsu's
to
pretty
Oh,
awesome.
100%. Yeah, if you wrestle through college, like you better. But see, like I think, and I'm gonna quote one of our jiu-jitsu students. Jiu-jitsu starts where wrestling stops. And maybe that's not 100% true. Maybe that's a very hard line. I am neither a wrestler nor what I would even consider a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. But I guess it's not true. But I wonder, like, if I was going through college and I knew I was wrestling, I would be simultaneously developing jiu-jitsu or in fear that I'm only learning half of that coin simultaneously. Or like I I can't wrestle to save my life, dude. I'm 6'4" and 180 pounds. Are you kidding me? It's like literally, I can't. But like, I don't know so I would always, I straight to my back. Let's do it. Guard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would see them wanting to do that and get those subs like you're saying.
I do think
That'd be awesome.
I do think we're seeing it more often now with kids understanding that and incorporating jiu-jitsu a little earlier. And that's credit to a lot of the great schools that we have now as well in the area. Isaac Greeley, the Mat Factory's always working with kids.
So listen, man, I've heard their names so much and always in a positive context, but I know nothing about them. What the only gyms I know anything about are Indio.
Yeah.
And that's just through the
JT
through the positive things I've heard from others. Apologies if I say this wrong. Viares.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Yeah, Auto is what I've heard him referred to as. So I hear really cool things about that place. I've met some of the fighters out of there. Aldo's really great, nice guys. Is that what it is, Aldo?
That's his name, Aldo Garcia.
Got you. Yeah. I thought it was Auto, so I apologize.
That's funny. Yeah,
Aldo, apologies. Yeah, I've heard of them. I've heard of. I mean, Stout is obviously a massive presence, and have they've been here for a long time, right?
That's a great. You know when they started, Danny Palm? Stout?
I'm going to totally, knowing nothing, guess 2006.
That's a
total guess. Totally random guess.
See if you can find it, but I'm going to text Wilkins real quick. Also, quick break. When did Stout start? All right, we'll see. I really don't know. They are the biggest. I don't know the student enrollment for each gym, but Stout's got to be the biggest, especially now they have like 4 or 5 locations.
I thought
that's crazy.
I mentioned in conversation to JT the other day something because I'd gone into one of the locations. They weren't open at the time, but or to it, and I was describing what it looked like, and he's like, "No, I haven't been to that one, but it's not this one." And I was like, "Man, I only thought they had 2."
Nuts, yeah. There's at least 4 I can think of.
They're a Henzo school, yeah.
Yep. They're fantastic, man. They're so good. I love those guys. The guys running it are great.
I was going to say, I bet they're great to work with just from time and grade, if nothing else.
Dude, what else they do so much better, like you'll appreciate this as a business owner, their digital marketing is so good. Like you see Stout ads. I see Stout ads everywhere. My YouTube, my Facebook,
everything,
my Instagram. Dude, everything is Stout. So it's like if you're just this hobbyist, it's like jiu-jitsu in Pittsburgh.
Stout PGH.
They're going to own the search engines. They're going to own all of that. They've done that.
What are these? And I've just seen a couple flyers, and once we opened, I buried my head, took my shoes off, and got on the mats. But what are these Muay Thai nights that they do?
I'm not sure, man.
I can't answer I saw a flyer. I don't know, maybe Muay Thai night 6 or 7. It could have been old. I didn't really know, but I saw that and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
They're heavy into Muay Thai, and that's one thing. As you were talking, Danny, I was thinking like this guy needs to meet Will Morrow. I always say his name wrong, and I don't know why. I've said it 100 times, and I always mess it up. But their head striking coach, Will, he is like just like you, dude. Totally addicted to striking. Similar frame too. Honestly, your bodies are extremely similar. I was like, you two would hit it off for sure, and like. Your quest for a deeper understanding of not just throw this, but why do we throw this, and how can we tweak this to be more efficient? Like you guys are very, very similar.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah,
I'd love to. I've heard nothing but good things about him. And then there is a gym called SKN Muay Thai. I've looked at them a lot. It looks like, I mean, they have the seminars they're running, dude. You're talking like Rod Tang. I mean, they're, dude,
wow.
If you're watching one fighting championship and you want to work with anybody you see, SKN will have them.
That's wild.
It's a trip.
Where are they? I never even heard of them.
They are, I know nothing about Pittsburgh, right? It took me like 2 hours to get here. Is there, you might want to look it up. I'm going to say Homewood, but it might just be because
Homewood
that's
exists.
the only,
that's a thing.
Like
for
name
sure.
of a city or a borough that I know. But great people, beautiful, beautiful gym.
Wow.
I've only been there once. They didn't have a class. I literally just stopped by because I was around it, and have wanted to get up there and take a few folks up there. But
okay, yeah, that's interesting because Stout leans into their Muay Thai program a lot too, and they have these Stout fights that are just Muay Thai fights once in a while.
Oh, okay, that's what I guess that's what I was probably referring to.
So I wonder if SKN is involved. I assume they have to.
Yeah,
they have to. Yeah,
I'm sure that'd be awesome. I would love to know.
They
the
look
answer
legit.
to that.
Yeah.
They are, man, and they're
new things.
They're just cool people. It looks like a Thai camp inside. They're rad.
Nice.
They're rad. And then there's have you guys worked with anybody from Fight Society? Probably not. They're a good bit further. They're like an hour past us.
Okay. No. Where's that at?
Morgantown.
Oh, in Morgantown. Interesting.
Yeah.
No.
Have you guys been? You've been to Matt Factory, right?
Yeah,
Come
for
on.
sure. Yeah,
Come on.
dude, Matt Factory.
Come on
dude.
down, dude.
What a
So
ridiculous
that's
place.
where we were going. So Matt Factory, you can't know even look up Pittsburgh MMA without seeing something about them.
Yeah,
What are they? Is it a wrestling club? Did it start as one?
Yes, it
Cool.
is the Matt Factory Wrestling Club.
Cool.
Technically, yes, but it turned into an all grappling, all ages, all skill levels.
Do they do MMA or
Yeah.
primarily? Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our cards have several of their fighters every time.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
saw I want to say I saw a photo of you there,
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, man.
yeah, for sure. So they are like they do some striking, but usually their guys will like get striking elsewhere. They are 100% like their bread and butter is wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
Where did their guys get their striking?
That's
Hi guys,
all over the
my
place.
name's Jamie.
Sanctuary Boxing Club is one. Shout out. I don't know if you know Richie Canalina or Sanctuary Boxing. But
I don't.
know a lot of their guys go there. Otherwise, they do cross train with Stout a lot. So their guys will be at Stout a lot.
Gotcha.
Those are the two I would say primarily. But yeah, Jamie, Devotion Kickboxing right here.
You got to come all the way to Fayette County.
How
but-
far is that? Fayette County.
That's right. That's right. It's not as bad. I drive really slow, dude. I'm talking right lane, 5 under. Don't get behind me. Don't get in front of me. I want nothing to do with it. I rode motorcycles long enough to hate the left lane. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So it took me like 90 minutes.
Okay.
My better half would say we're just under an hour from right where I'm sitting.
Okay. That's
just
that's
take
not
forever.
terrible. Yeah.
It ain't bad.
Where are you at in Connellsville exactly?
If you I the way that I see Connellsville is that there's, as far as like the actual city, right?
I know Bud Murphy's Pizza.
100%.
That's what I know.
Okay, so if you that's one, right? And then the next one is if you keep going on 119 and you come around to there's that like Wendy's and
Yeah,
Sheetz, right?
I know
So
that. Yep.
Those are what I consider the two like entrances to Connellsville.
Sure.
Whether or not I'm correct on that, it's how I see it, outsider's perspective. I'm gonna stop saying that. I love Connellsville. I'm not an outsider's perspective. So
You're an insider now.
well, we'll see. not to them, but to me. But I'll take it regardless. So if you were to turn, let's say into Connellsville right there at where Bud's is, right? Make a left up the hill, and then Crawford is kind of like the main street.
Okay.
If you make a right on that, it'll shoot you back out to like Sheetz and Wendy's.
Gotcha.
So kind of right there is
Yep.
where we're at.
Sick.
We've got 1,100 square feet now. We because I guess not everybody knows this. Some people do, not everyone, I would assume. We started 7 weeks ago building what will be a much more semi-permanent location. We're gonna triple our footprint. We are going to we're gonna have a lot more than just kickboxing, which was the mission. So we'll have full jiu-jitsu. Whether or not we do any no-gi, I don't know, because I think it's not my thing. So, but we'll go full jiu-jitsu, and that's just for fun, and because inevitably we will have folks that train both and want to mix them. And we'll be sitting right here. You'll be talking to them. It'll happen, right?
Huge,
So,
dude. Huge.
But I always want to focus and at our heart be not even just a kickboxing club, right? But the word club is intentional. Kickboxing is intentional, not striking, right? And I always want that to be our foe. That is where my heart is. Now, if the student base at a later date requires something else, whatever, guys, you know what I'm saying? But at its heart, I don't see Devotion ever leaving the space of being primarily a striking gym, and that's why I want to. I've met a bunch of the guys that have fought for you, and I haven't met one that I didn't like, and I would love to work with any of them because I have no territorial pissings as related to where they do their jiu-jitsu.
Very
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The reason I want to work with the striking is because, like, I don't know, I'm here, want to play the game, have some fun, right? You guys are cool dudes. The gyms are awesome and really talented, so
Right.
I want to play. But I would never. I don't right now have any aspiration to be a jiu-jitsu coach as it relates to MMA. Will I teach our foundations class and believe that I'll do a great job doing it? Absolutely. And do I have guidance in doing that I'll kind of talk more about at a later date? Yeah. So
Nice.
Really, really excited about that. But I don't want the territory of it. I want a kid who's got great jiu-jitsu. And look, and this isn't anything against a striking gym. I think there's a big misconception that when someone signs up at an MMA gym, they do jiu-jitsu, they do Thai boxing, they do the MMA classes. And I think there's a misconception that if they decide to go to another jiu-jitsu gym, that they're insulting in any way the jiu-jitsu coach at that school, or that if they go to a striking coach, that they're insulting in any way the striking coach at that school. A lot of gyms, and I won't say all, a lot of very successful high class gyms have world class jiu-jitsu with mediocre striking, but the jiu-jitsu just paves the way and they're fine. And what I want to do is even that. I want to give their fighters, right? I won't say mine, their fighters. I want to look at the jiu-jitsu that they're doing. I don't want to ever control any of it. But man, would it be fun to say, hey, with the way that your body's shaped, with the way that you wrestle, with the way that you're grappling and what you like to do and what you're already going to do anyway, let's see how we can put some intelligent hands around that process.
I think people listening will know that that's a legit feeling on your end as well, because earlier when I said about you being in Jason's corner, you were like quick to say, just to be clear, I wasn't actually in this corner. Like, you don't have that ego of like, that's my guy. I made you, whatever.
No.
And honestly, Pittsburgh cross trains a lot, so that's not new to them, that idea of like, I can also be here, but I have a home gym, but I can bop around and all pretty much friendly. So there is that component that already exists.
People must not like us yet.
Nobody's coming.
Well, no. They and I won't drop names. So if you just got nervous hearing me say that, no, we've had several guys come in.
Oh,
and,
okay.
There's a conversation about how their coach wouldn't be okay with them training striking elsewhere.
Interesting.
But that they have a lot of fun, and I think I could do them some good. Which is why I brought up JT and I's conversation. First conversation was, is this a career or is this for fun? Because if this is for fun, don't train here. Stay at your gym. Do what you do. Have some fights, and you'll do great. You know what I'm saying? JT's going to do great whether I ever work with him or not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if it's a career, I tend to encourage people to take the emotion out of that and look at folks in my position, coaches, as a I mean, I'm a service dude. You want to accomplish a goal, you need a skill set to accomplish it. I can help you sharpen that skill set
huge.
For a price. This is transactional. Any friendship that arrives organically is beautiful and awesome, and I have a lot of lifelong friends that have arisen from the exact same atmosphere. Yep. But if you want to go there, go there.
Yeah. I think that's the way to do it, man. How many times, even all the way up to the UFC, you see people get tied to their gym, loyal to a fault, and then they realize too late, like, man, I should have been getting work over here.
Right.
Like, I'm really bad at this, and it never got better. Why? Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is, had they incorporated that from the beginning, they would have accidentally set up within their region a really awesome symbiotic relationships between a couple gyms that are really talented at different things and only want to share that. You know what I'm saying?
That's happening with Stout and the Mat Factory, so that's cool to have you on here to see, because, like I said, Mat Factory is wrestling club at heart. Everybody who comes from there, you can trust.
You can't have a gym called Mat Factory and not be good at what you do. That's awesome.
You can't train there and not get good, because that room, it's killers all day.
I bet, man.
Killers all day.
I bet.
Like, you're not going to get better. You're going to quit. You either quit or get better. There's one or the other.
Yeah.
Which is the case for all martial arts, really.
Yeah, and a lot of folks can't handle that sharpening process, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of times there's this like, oh, can't go super hard or whatever. I agree. I think that you can't, because you have to give people a proper introduction to decide if they like it or not. But once they're there and once you're staying, you know what you're signing up for.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like we're gonna, and you know where those social circles arise, where those are the competitors,
for sure.
These are the hobbyists,
for sure.
Right? I'm like old man. That's my style, so I like it.
That's sick, man. I'm glad that you're launching this and taking it to the next step, because, like I said, obviously I was aware of you after Jason's fight back in, that was October, I believe. So
it's a long time ago.
I know. Time flies, man. It's crazy. So we've been aware of each other for a while, but I'm glad that like you're setting a pretty strong foundation now, really growing. The new location's sick, man. Mega congrats on that.
Dude,
that's awesome.
Thank you. I can't wait. Literally, like, triple the footprint, almost triple the mat space, but like floor rings, turfs, all the bells and whistles. I have a really awesome relationship with a couple different brands. I worked for we can get into that for days too, but did the brand thing for a while, specifically as it relates to design for combat sports companies. I lost my train of thought. I do it all the time.
Too many hits to the head, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no. What were we talking about with Mat Factory? What was the last thing?
You were saying that you have a lot of ties to different gear companies.
Thank you. So there's two different companies that I have a really good relationship with, and to be completely honest, I think that they're such a, like, I'm not trying to like name drop them or sell them, but they're both such good resources for new gyms, man, that I kind of have to. Everybody knows Combat Corner, but the way that they have things set up makes it so easy. And then there's a brand called Valley Sports that they're kind of a smaller company. Great stuff, and you won't find anything at a better price, and the stuff it's really, really good. So
nice.
We've got them doing a bunch of different, like, various bags for us, different kind of shapes, sizes, again, to kind of go along with this way I see things. You're gonna see bags that are shaped and you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? But I'm telling you, bro, there's a game you play with that and it wins.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll have a green room kind of thing with you know, a lot of all the kind of Valley stuff set up, mats, floor rings, fitness, kids, all
Dude,
of it.
I'm hyped about it.
Thank you.
And selfishly hyped about it as well, because the more people like you coming in to add to the mix, the better for everybody. For us as promoters, you're going to create new killers.
I hope so.
You're going to sharpen old killers. Like, this is awesome.
And man, it's cool because, like, it was not my intention at all. I told 3 different people that are coming to mind no on competing multiple times. Like, they're like, you know, come on, like, let's do this, let's do that. No, this is fitness. That's what we're doing, and it's great, and it was working, and it kind of worked itself as a hobby. So even me sitting here is really just it's a result. It's a result of their hard work, and it's my way of supporting their hard work. And when I say they, it's not lost on me that you don't know who I'm referring to, but you will.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm hyped, dude.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're going to leave you guys on that cliffhanger. That's a perfect place to wrap it up, because that's awesome, man. I'm glad we got you in here, first of all. You made that vicious 6-hour drive from Connellsville.
Yeah,
into
right.
the big
Road
city.
trip.
Yeah. But thanks for coming out, man. This has
course.
been super sick. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to see where you go. Obviously, we'll be in touch, but for
Yeah.
sure, man, just keep me up to date on everything. This is
yeah,
great.
I'll see you at the next one for sure.
Hell yeah.
Believe that.
Let's run it. Sick, dude.